The chandelier cast fractured rainbows across the marble floor of the Harper mansion, each crystal trembling as laughter and conversation filled the opulent ballroom. James Harper, silver-haired and distinguished at 55, stood beside his young bride like a man defending a fragile flame against hurricane winds. Lily, 25 and radiant in emerald silk, smiled with the practiced grace of someone who had learned early that appearances mattered more than comfort. "Ladies and gentlemen," James's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd, his arm tightening protectively around Lily's waist. "I'd like you to meet my wife, Lily Harper." The silence that followed was not the respectful pause of congratulation, but the suffocating quiet that precedes a storm. Eyes that had once regarded James with warm familiarity now held the cold calculation of those reassessing an old friend who had suddenly become a stranger. Emily Harper stepped forward from the shadows near the grand staircase, her 30-year-old face a mask of barely contained fury. She moved with the predatory grace inherited from her late mother, each step deliberate as a chess move. "How wonderful," she said, her voice dripping with acid sweetness. "And tell us, Lily, what is it you do? Besides collecting wedding rings, of course." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some averting their eyes while others leaned forward with the hungry anticipation of vultures. Lily felt the heat rise in her cheeks, but her smile never wavered. A skill learned from years of serving difficult customers, of swallowing pride with each paycheck. "I work with the Community Hope Foundation," Lily replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "We help provide educational resources for underprivileged children." "How noble," Emily continued, circling them like a shark sensing blood. "And before your charitable phase? I heard you had quite the colorful employment history. Wasn't it at Murphy's Bar on 5th Street? The question landed like a physical blow. Lily's composure cracked for just an instant, long enough for the crowd to catch a glimpse of the frightened girl beneath the polished surface. She had tended bar through college, enduring wandering hands and lewd comments to pay for textbooks and tuition, each night a small death of dignity in service of a larger dream. James stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "Emily, that's enough." "Is it, Father?" Emily's voice rose, carrying across the now silent room. "Because I think our friends deserve to know exactly what kind of investment you've made in your golden years." Michael Harper, 18 and caught between boyhood and manhood, watched from the doorway with wide, uncertain eyes. His loyalty to his sister warred with something else, a recognition of the genuine warmth that seemed to emanate from Lily like heat from a hearth. She had been kind to him in the few weeks since the wedding, asking about his studies, remembering his interests in ways that Emily, consumed by her own ambitions, rarely did. The evening crumbled like a house of cards in a windstorm. Guests began making polite excuses, filing out into the night with whispered conversations and meaningful glances. Lily stood in the wreckage of what should have been a celebration, feeling more alone than she had ever felt in her 25 years. As the last guest departed, Emily turned to her father with cold satisfaction. "I hope you're proud of your new acquisition, Dad. I'm sure she'll be worth every penny." The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion, and Lily finally understood the true price of love when it collides with the family's protective instincts and buried grief. The weeks that followed felt like a siege. Emily's campaign against Lily was methodical and relentless, a death by 1,000 cuts executed with surgical precision. Social invitations mysteriously failed to reach Lily. Family dinners became minefields of passive-aggressive comments and telling silences. The staff, long loyal to Emily, began treating Lily with the careful politeness reserved for unwelcome guests who might leave at any moment. Lily found herself questioning everything: her motives, her worth, her place in this world of inherited privilege and unspoken rules. Had she truly married James for love, or had Emily's cruel words revealed a truth she was too blind to see? She stared at herself in the mirror of the master bedroom, searching for answers in her own reflection and finding only doubt. "You're stronger than this," she whispered to herself, but the words felt hollow against the weight of constant judgment. The turning point came on a rain-soaked Tuesday when David Chen, an old friend from her college days, appeared at the Charity Foundation's office. He was older now, successful in his own right, wearing confidence like a well-tailored suit. "I heard about your marriage," he said, settling into the chair across from her desk. "I have to admit, I was surprised. I always thought you'd end up with someone closer to your own age, someone who understood where you came from." Lily felt a familiar defensive wall rising. "James is a good man. He understands me better than you might think." David leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Do you remember what you told me when I proposed 3 years ago? You said you'd rather struggle alone than live as someone's beautiful accessory. You said you wanted to earn your place in the world, not inherit it." The words hit like a physical blow, dredging up memories of a younger, more idealistic Lily who had believed that integrity was more valuable than security. She had turned down David's proposal, turned down a comfortable life with someone her own age, because she had wanted to prove herself first. So what did it say about her that she had married James? "That was different," she said. But even to her own ears, the protest sounded weak. "Was it?" David asked, gently. "Or are you just tired of fighting?" That evening, Michael found Lily in the garden, sitting on the stone bench beside his mother's rose bushes. The rain had stopped, but the air still held the promise of storms to come. She was staring at the memorial plaque his father had installed there. "Margaret Harper, beloved wife and mother." "My mom would have liked you," Michael said quietly, sitting beside her. Lily looked up, surprised. It was perhaps the longest sentence he had spoken to her since the wedding. "How can you be sure?" "Because she always said the measure of a person isn't where they come from, but what they do with where they're going." He paused, pulling a crumpled newspaper clipping from his pocket. "I saw this about the fundraiser you organized downtown. Emily tried to convince Dad not to go, said it would be inappropriate." The clipping was from the local paper, featuring a photo of Lily surrounded by children at the community center, her face animated with genuine joy as she helped launch the new literacy program. The headline read, "Local woman spearheads successful drive for community library." "You raised $40,000 in one evening, and you did it without using Dad's name or connections. Emily doesn't know I was there, but I saw how the people responded to you. You gave them hope." Lily felt tears threatening, the first genuine emotion she had allowed herself to feel in weeks. "Your sister thinks I'm after your father's money." "Maybe," Michael said with a maturity that surprised her, "but I think Emily's scared of something else. She's scared that Dad might love you the way he loved Mom, and if that's true, then she has to face the fact that Mom is really gone." The insight was startling in its clarity, revealing the grief beneath Emily's anger like bedrock beneath topsoil. Margaret Harper had been gone for 5 years, but her presence still haunted every room of the house, every family interaction, every decision James made. Emily wasn't just protecting her father's fortune, she was protecting her mother's memory from being replaced. That night, as James worked late in his study, Emily confronted him with a copy of his revised will. Her hands shook as she held the documents, her carefully maintained composure finally cracking. 30%, Dad? You're leaving 30% of everything to a woman you've known for less than a year? James looked up from his papers, suddenly appearing every one of his 55 years. Emily, please, not tonight. When then? She broke with the force of 5 years of bottled grief and fear. When she's taken everything? When there's nothing left of our family, of Mom's memory? Your mother is not a bank account to be protected, James said quietly. She was a woman who believed in love and second chances. She would want me to be happy. Happy? Emily laughed bitterly. Is that what you call this? You're a fool, Dad. A lonely old fool being played by a girl young enough to be your daughter? The words hung between them like a blade, cutting deeper than either had intended. James stood slowly, his face grave with disappointment. I've tried to be patient with your grief, Emily, but I won't let you poison this family with your bitterness. If you cannot accept Lily as part of this family, then perhaps it's time you found your own path. Emily stared at him as if he had struck her, then turned and fled the room, leaving the will scattered on the floor like accusations waiting to be answered. The storm came on a Thursday night in November, as if the sky itself had absorbed all the tension crackling through the Harper household and finally burst under the pressure. James had left the house in anger after another confrontation with Emily, driving through sheets of rain with visibility near zero and his mind clouded by frustration. The call came at 11:47 p.m. Lily answered the phone with shaking hands, Michael and Emily standing beside her in the hallway like soldiers waiting for news from a distant battlefield. Mrs. Harper? The voice was clinical, professional. This is St. Mary's Hospital. Your husband has been in an accident. The world tilted sideways. Lily felt Emily's eyes boring into her, heard Michael's sharp intake of breath, but everything seemed to be happening underwater, muffled and unreal. He's alive, but critical. You should come immediately. The ride to the hospital passed in suffocating silence. Emily sat rigid in the passenger seat, her profile carved from marble in the intermittent streetlight. In the rearview mirror, Lily could see Michael's reflection, his face pale with shock, and something that looked uncomfortably like blame. At the hospital, as James lay unconscious and connected to machines that beeped out the rhythm of his uncertain future, Emily finally let her control shatter completely. "This is your fault," she whispered, her voice venomous with grief and fear. "He was upset because of you, because of the choice you forced him to make." The accusation landed like a physical blow. But Lily didn't flinch. She had learned to absorb cruelty without breaking, to find strength in the spaces between other people's anger. "You're right," Lily said quietly, and Emily looked up in surprise. "I did force him to choose. But not between you and me, Emily. Between love and fear. Between moving forward and staying trapped in grief." For 3 days, Lily maintained her vigil at James's bedside, while Emily held court in the waiting room, accepting sympathy from friends and family who whispered about the cursed young wife who had brought tragedy to the Harper name. The isolation was complete, suffocating, but Lily endured it with the quiet dignity of someone who had learned to find worth in her own actions rather than others' approval. It was while searching through James's personal effects that Lily found the letter, a sealed envelope in Margaret Harper's handwriting, addressed simply to "The woman who loves my husband after me." Lily's hands trembled as she opened it,
reading words that seem to reach across the divide between life and death. If you are reading this, it means James has found the courage to love again. I hope you can forgive me for the reception you've likely received. Grief makes us selfish, and I fear my daughter will struggle to let go of the past. Please be patient with her. She loves so fiercely because she has lost so much. Help her remember that our family was built on love, not fear, and that there is room enough in any heart for both memory and hope. Be the bridge between who we were and who we can become. The letter fell from Lily's nerveless fingers as she finally understood the weight of what she had inherited, not just James's love, but responsibility for healing a family fractured by loss. That evening, as Emily sat alone in the hospital chapel, Lily approached with the letter in her hands. She sat beside her stepdaughter in the flickering candlelight, two women bound together by their love for the same man and separated by years of accumulated pain. "Your mother left this for me," Lily said simply, placing the letter in Emily's hands. Emily read in silence, tears streaming down her face as her mother's words dissolved years of carefully constructed defenses. When she finished, she looked at Lily with eyes that were finally, fully present. "I've been horrible to you," Emily whispered. "You've been protecting your family. I understand that. But Emily, I'm not here to replace your mother or steal your inheritance. I'm here because I love your father, and I love this family, even the parts that don't love me back." "How?" Emily asked, her voice breaking. "How can you love people who have hurt you so much?" Lily smiled, and for the first time, Emily saw not the calculating gold digger of her imagination, but a young woman who had learned to transform pain into compassion, rejection into resilience. Because that's what love is. It's not about being loved back. It's about choosing to see the best in people, even when they can't see it in themselves. James woke on the fourth day to find his family transformed. Emily sat beside his bed, her hand intertwined with Lily's, as they took turns reading to him from his favorite books. Michael had claimed the uncomfortable chair by the window, looking up from his homework whenever the monitors beeped, as if his attention alone could keep his father tethered to life. "What happened?" James asked, weakly, though he wasn't talking about the accident. "We remembered how to be a family," Emily said, squeezing Lily's hand, "and I remembered what Mom always told me, that love multiplies when you share it. It doesn't divide." The recovery was slow, measured in small victories and gradual healing. But as winter gave way to spring, the Harper house began to feel like a home again. Emily and Lily worked together on charity events, their different strengths complementing each other in ways that surprised them both. Michael found his voice, no longer caught between competing loyalties, but secure in a family that had learned to embrace complexity rather than demand simplicity. The story closed on a warm May afternoon, with the entire family gathered in Margaret's garden. They were planting a new tree, a Japanese maple that would grow and change with the seasons, its roots intertwining with those of the older plants while adding its own unique beauty to the landscape. As they worked together, filling the whole with rich earth and gentle water, Lily thought about the letter that had changed everything. Margaret Harper had been right. There was room enough in any heart for both memory and hope, for honoring the past while embracing the future. The tree stood straight and strong, its young leaves catching the afternoon light like promises waiting to be fulfilled, and around it, a family that had learned to love not despite their differences, but because of them, continued the patient work of growing together toward the sun.